So this is a video that I kind of wanted to do for a while, just for people who are interested in terms of the history of contests in Choi Kwang Do. And I've done quite a lot of contests in Choi Kwang Do. The first one was in 2012, and then I participated in the last one that ran, which was before COVID, in 2018. So here we have contests in 2012, 2013, 2015, 16, 17, and 18. And so the Choi Kwang Do contest is not a sparring tournament. This is very, very important to understand. You don't fight somebody. You have the pattern. For everyone who's trained or has seen a class, you know what the pattern is. It's a sequence of moves in the air. At the upper black belt levels, the patterns become more and more complex and they become longer. And so the patterns that I've done in contest are the 4th dan and the 5th dan ones, and they have about 100 movements. So they're quite complex. Then there's a drill called the speed drill, which is a shorter pattern that you perform at very high intensity. And then the last one is the shield drill. So this is something that we do in the grading. We have the impact training with the tower, performing the same thing, but with the air shield. That's a contest. So you're getting judged on, depending on the category, you're getting judged on different criteria. And so these medals are only from those events. These are not fighting tournament medals. And in this video, I'm just going to talk about each event in the timeline and explain a little bit about the event itself, and then also the ways that it led to more opportunities in the international community, led to new experiences, new friendships. And I think that that's a massive highlight of all of this journey, is just participating in these events, being in the right place with the right people. Great things can come from that. And then at the end of the video, we'll talk about the times that I brought a Malaysian team to Choi Kwang Do contests, their success and the experience that we had. So this is the first contest medal that I won, and the feeling was actually incredible because it was the first time, and it was the first time that there had been a Choi Kwang Do contest. So this one was for the shield drill, and I was really happy with, especially winning the shield drill one, because especially in Scotland, we care a lot about that type of training, a lot more so than the pattern or the speed drill. So this was the first one, and in that group, it was 2nd dan black belt and above. There was people from all over the world, America, Russia, UK. There was also some people from Korea, and I was actually the only one not from America. So the other people who finished in this top 5, they were either from Choi Kwang Do headquarters or they were from Michigan. And Michigan is like the home of Choi Kwang Do. It's where it actually first started. So Michigan will come up again in these stories because Michigan is really good at Choi Kwang Do. So that's it. That's the first one. So 1 year later, there was a Choi Kwang Do contest that they called the Showcase of Excellence, and it was in London. And so for me, having finished in the top 5, I thought, okay, let me try and really train well and go to London. So the issue was I was actually living in France for 7 months, and it was a little tricky to do training. So I did some stretching, I did some patterns, I did some sprint training, and I did a lot of mindfulness stuff. And then my parents were very supportive, and they actually arranged for me to go to Argentina, and I did an internship in Buenos Aires with Master Jose Luis, and that was absolutely fantastic. And that was literally just before the contest. So I arrived in London having just been in Argentina, and the way that they'd done the groups at that time was there was a 4th dan and above category. Now, most of the people my age were not at 4th dan. So I was the youngest in that group by quite a margin, and so that was definitely an advantage. There's also a big difference between the 4th dan and the 5th dan syllabus, and for contest, the 4th dan syllabus is much more dynamic, the 5th dan syllabus is very technical. So I had a few advantages, and I ended up winning this contest. So I got a 1st place for the pattern, a 1st place for the speed drill, and then a 3rd place again for the shield drill. And in that group was basically all of the senior masters in London and a very senior master from Choi Kwang Do headquarters. At the time I was 19, so I was 20, I just turned 20. So being 20, having, like I described, a few advantages, I do think I was fortunate. I certainly don't think that I was any better than the other people in that contest, but the conditions were really favorable, and it was a great experience to get that finish. One of the highlights was from that event, I became much more known in Choi Kwang Do community, especially in Europe, because not all of the Europeans had traveled to America the year before. And I ended up being invited to Portugal. There was a Taekwondo, I think he was third dan at the time, a Taekwondo guy who wanted to learn Choi Kwang Do. And so I got to go to Portugal for 3 weeks and teach Choi Kwang Do to him and to some of his Taekwondo students. And it was incredible. It was absolutely amazing. And then I ended up going back to Portugal 2 times after that as well. And yeah, the guy, T. Pai Shao is what I called him. He was like an uncle and just a fantastic guy. So this experience, I see it very much led to that. And then the next Choi Kwang Do contest was going to be in 2015. So at that time I was doing my dissertation, my last 2 years of university. So between studies I kept the Choi going, and then 2015 was going to be a really big one. 2015, there was a big international contest in South Korea, in Seoul. And for this one, I had just finished university and I came to Malaysia where my parents were living, and I did the last 3 months of my training in Malaysia. This was also the event that I was going to do my grading to 5th Dan black belt. So the 5th Dan black belt is really significant because that's when you get the rank of master. So it was something that is like, from being a kid, I'd always thought about one day becoming a master, and now it was getting very close. So I was training a lot. At this contest, I got a gold medal, a silver medal, and a bronze medal in the highest belt rank category. This one they had, by that point, a couple of the people my age had kind of caught up in belt rank. They got into 4th Dan, so they ended up being in the same group. So the people in my group were, I think, more appropriate to my age. One of the differences was a couple of the really good people didn't make it to Korea. So, but one person did make it, and that was my mentor, Master Jose Luis. So the guy who'd helped me train to ultimately win in 2013, he came to Korea, and it was perfect because he also got 1 gold medal, 1 silver medal, and 1 bronze medal. So we had a tie, and that was just incredible. Like, you couldn't write it as a story. It was perfect. It was the perfect way that it could go. So I was super happy with that result. And from Korea, me and Master Jose Luis, we traveled with Grandmaster Choi and with some other instructors, and we actually went to India. And we assisted with some instructor training in India. And that was, yeah, a fantastic experience. So this is the Korea and India part. 2016, there was a regional Choi Kwang Do contest in Australia. This is the Australian title, which I think is one of the coolest of the medals with the shape of it and so on. So the story here is that when I got back from Korea, I decided to stick around and help my mum with the dojang. And one thing led to another, and then I ended up helping a bit more and helping a bit more, and I became very busy for not much result. You know, it's really hard to open a dojang. It's really difficult. It takes a lot of energy, and you need to persevere, and you need to be resilient. And so the first year or two was really a grind. And so this event for me was a massive motivation boost to get out of Monkiara and see a really warm Choi Kwang Do community, attend the instructor training with Grandmaster Choi, take part in the contest. It gave me something to focus on that had tangibles and was more familiar and stuff that I was good at when I wasn't necessarily good at running a Choi Kwang Do school yet because I was doing it for the first time. So it was a fantastic experience. It was hosted in Cairns in far north Queensland, and so these are the medals. They were part of the North Queensland Games. Again, pattern, speed drill, and shield drill. I dropped, there's 2 golds, pattern and shield drill, and I dropped the speed drill. I got silver in that one, and the guy who got gold for speed drill was incredible, was really, really good. And so this contest was, it was Aussies and me. So it wasn't like the other ones, the big international events, but for me, I'm super grateful that I had the opportunity to go, and it was a really big boost for me in the context of what was going on. 2017 was another round at Choi Kwang Do headquarters of international contests, and no gold medal. I was devastated, I'm not gonna lie. There were really good practitioners, especially the headquarters guys. It was at headquarters, all the top headquarters guys were there. So the thing I was really happy about is that I got a medal and everything, but no golds. So there's now 4 medals because there was a new event that was the first time that I was participating in it, and it was a team event, and I was in Team Scotland. Which was an amazing experience. Having been in Malaysia at that point for 2 years already, it was really nice to link up with people that I've known since I was a kid, that I've trained for years and years with, link up with them in America and then participate together. So it was the same pattern, speed drill and shield drill, and then the scores were just averaged out across the team. On a personal note, my mum was in the team. And that was really special because my mum and I have been doing Choi Kwang Do since about 1997. So this was 20 years that we'd been doing Choi Kwang Do together. And although we started at a similar time, my mum was very senior to me. She learned faster, of course, she was an adult. She also had the military background. She traveled to headquarters and got extra training. And so for a really significant period of time, it was about 10 years, my mum was directly my instructor. And that's really tough when you're a kid, to have your mum as your instructor. And what was really tough for her is that at some point, I had valuable advice I could give her, but it was really hard for her. For 10 years, she's been the instructor. It can be hard for her to receive that. And so what was amazing about this one was we were preparing, we did a little bit of prep together. Of course, I did my own stuff, but we did a bit of prep together, and I got to help my mum out with training, which was really special. And it was really cool. It was great to have that time together. My mum and I traveled together to America. She had, I think it was that time, she had a grading, might have been a different time. And we stayed with the Argentinians. We got an Airbnb with the Argentinians, which was ace. It was really fun. So yeah, we were with Master Jose Luis and a bunch of his students. And this was the first time that I had brought a student to an international event, and he was called Chad, and he was going to grade to first dan black belt, and he was Canadian, but he learned only in KL. So he did a great job. He did a great job in his contests. He got medals. He completed his grading. This was also, we have a guy kicking about in Malaysia called Mr. Mitch. He graded at this event, and so that was another highlight. He actually graded on the same floor as Chad. So this is where, for this contest for me in 2017, it's where I was devastated that I didn't get the gold medal for my personal performance. But for 2 years, I hadn't been focused on my training. I've been focused on growing what we have here in Malaysia. And I started to really care about how are my students doing, and can I involve my students in this type of experience? And so having the Scottish team was a huge highlight. Chad being there with the Malaysian flag on, doing the grading, doing the contests was absolutely massive. And then on the social side, being with the Argentinians was just fantastic. So this is the last Choi Kwang Do contest that we had, and it was in 2018 in London. You can see there's a few less medals here. So this was the 3rd place medal, this was a 2nd place medal, and then this one is the team event. So I don't know if I mentioned, the last team event we came 2nd, behind headquarters. So that was fantastic. And Michigan finished third. In this event, Michigan finished second and we finished third. Competing as a 5th dan black belt, I really felt it in this event is harder than competing as a 4th dan black belt because of the change in the syllabus. So that I felt that challenge. Also, by this point in 2017, Choi Kwang Do was absolutely exploding in Malaysia. We had already opened a few condos, we had a few kindergartens that we were teaching in, and we'd gone from something like 25 students to getting close to 300 students. So I was working very hard, like almost every day. I had about 3 days off per month, and I couldn't prepare in the same way. However, I brought quite a few students to this event and I spent a lot of time preparing them. So Miss Audine, who was the main instructor under me in Malaysia, she won her contest group. And then Miss Ting, who is the main instructor right now in PJ, she won her contest group as well. Miss Ting graded to black belt. I had an apprentice from Argentina called Tincho, and he came to London as well, and he did a fantastic job. We had an apprentice called Dominic from London who came to the event too, and my mum was there. There was the old Scottish people were there, so it was amazing from the community angle. We also had a couple other students who came along too from Malaysia. So it was fantastic to bring a team. It was fantastic to do the whole community and the instructor training and so on. I was a bit disappointed with my result, but at that event, the best people showed up as well. The best instructors from headquarters came, and the instructors in London are no joke either. So it was a really tough competition, and the level was really high, and I was super proud that Miss Audine and Miss Ting won their contest group. That's it.